Welcome back to Tools of Fighter Pilots, where we dive into the mindset, tactics, and habits that keep us sharp in the air and grounded in life. I am TC, fighter pilot instructor, Ironman coach. Today I'm just a dad in the hot seat. This episode is a little different. We are doing the first ever AMA, Ask Me Anything. And instead of another pilot or teammate or a specialist, today my wingman is my daughter, Allegra. She's grown up around the squadrons, my assignments, and she see what life is like when I come home and remove the helmet. Honestly, I have no idea what she's going to ask, and that's part of the fun. And as we said when we're flying, you have the controls. Let's see what you got for me.
Hello everyone, happy to be here. I want to start off with the basic introductory questions. How did you become a fighter pilot in the first place?
How did I become a fighter pilot? Well, you go through a process which is basically joining the academy, the Italian Air Force. And I went through the Air Force Academy for 3 years and a half in Naples. And then after that, continue my journey through pilot training in a Euro-NATO joint flying school in the States. And then after that, you receive your wings and basically you are military pilot. Then from there, you are assigned to your operational squadron and you fly the fighter that the Air Force decides to assign depending on how was your course.
What exactly does a fighter pilot instructor do?
A fighter pilot instructor is not teaching pilots really to take off and landing. Fighter pilot instructor teaches is the pilots who are already military pilots, so they have already the wings and a certain experience to fly fighter jets. Then they not only learn to take off and landing, but they learn different skills with the weapon platform that the Air Forces have assigned to them.
I've always asked you where this passion started, and you've always told me, and so did your mom, and so did your dad, that being a pilot was always your dream job. At what age do you think that this interest started? And what was something that maybe sparked this interest or that inspired you?
When I was 5 years old, I remember seeing a fighter jet just overflying the school that I was there. I was at the beginning of primary school. I was impressed by that because of the noise, the color, this dark shadow in the air. And I was going to school to the nuns. So when I saw that one, I just said, yes, that's what I want to do. And one of the nuns was really kind to me, gifted me a postcard from a friend, from a relative that was working already on fighters. It was a tornado from the Red Devils. And I kept this postcard always with me. That was something that stood up in my mind and has always been there. And also, I remember there are some drawings when I was a kid of me thinking about airplanes that were defending my home and my parents and my family and so on. So since I was 5 years old, since I can recall, this has always been my ambition. There is also another fact. Probably my parents, they were fascinated by airplanes flying or the Frecce Tricolori or the aerobatic teams. So I remember that they would never cover my ears when a fighter airplane would pass by in the area where we were or when we would go to certain air shows. So it was kind of, let's say, they helped me out because they didn't put limits. Sometimes you see kids, the parents come here and then they close their ears, they cover the ears when there is a loud noise. They've never done that. So probably that one resonates with me and it's keeping me, it kept me, motivated to hear the sound from real.
That's probably why you're already deaf.
Yes. Probably why I'm already deaf.
Okay, so now that you've told me a little bit about your childhood, can you explain a little bit about how you started the military? What is the timeline of your journey as a pilot and the planes you flew in chronological order?
So in 1993, while I was preparing for the final exams in June for the high school, I also applied for the Italian Air Force Academy. And I had to go through the medical testing, Italian written test, and then mathematical test. Then after that, I joined the Air Force in August, 24th of August, 1993. And after 1 week I was in Naples, I was sent to Latina, the basic flying school, where there was the first, let's say, screening and mandatory phase, where many people would be cut from the course because we're not able to go solo on this SF260 CI Marchetti SF260, a nice orange airplane, that propeller airplane. They would do aerobatics, would do instrument flying, would do anything. Then after that, every year of the academy in summer, we would go to Latina again for other phases, like kind of instrument or formation or aerobatics or whatever it was. And then at the end of the academy, so February 1997, I was selected to go to Shepherd Air Force Base, an American base where Euro NATO joint training will go on T-37 and T-38. Now they've changed type of aircraft, but these are the aircraft that were there. In 1998, while graduating from NJEPT, I received my Silver Wings. It's what the U.S. Air Force called them, the Golden Wings for the Navy, but the Air Force called them Silver Wings, and also the Aquila Turrita, which is the wings that we received from the Italian Air Force. So I received two. And from then on, I was military pilot destined to fly F-104 Starfighters, an aircraft that has been designed in the 1950s, and Italy flew this airplane until 2004, and I flew it from 1999 to 2003. When I got back to Italy, I started the training at the OSU of the F-104, and then after that, I was assigned to the 23rd Squadron of Cervia on the east coast of Italy, where I flew the F-104. And then in 2003, the Air Force decided to lease F-16s from America. So I flew again F-16s, went to the United States in Tucson, where I was trained on the F-16. And I flew the F-16 until 2007, where I transitioned to Typhoon. Since then, I've been flying Typhoon. I've been flying also for a while, for a few years, PC-21, Pilatus, so on a, let's say, a more basic phase of training. But generally now I'm flying Typhoons.
Which one would you think is your favorite out of all the ones you flew?
These are three, let's say, they are the triad of the air defense, in my opinion. So F-104 was an aircraft designed to take off as quick as possible, intercept very high enemy aircrafts, and then come back with just less fuel, not very maneuverable. But the aircraft was very physical. You would feel it under your butt when you were flying, in order not to do anything stupid. F-16 was finally the ability to maneuver, the ability to be able to pull Gs, the ability to also be deployed in exercises. And finally, Typhoon is one of the most modern airplanes with different capabilities and different range. So effectively, if you're thinking about the skill of flying, F-104 was very, let's say, challenging. And also it was the first love, okay? Navy fighter, let's say. The F-16 still is in my heart. I think I could still start an F-16. And now that I'm flying Typhoon, I know that this aircraft can provide a lot of information to the pilot. It's really a mission-oriented aircraft. Three of them, they have three characteristics. Everyone has his own characteristics that I really love. Probably I would say F-104 is still in my heart. I would like to do another flight on that one, but it's not really possible, let's say.
Let's go back to the beginning a little bit. From when you graduated high school, how did you prepare for the military exams? As you always help me prepare for my exams. What is back in the day? How did you prepare?
Back in the day, it was really, there was no internet. So you would get the information regarding the exams that you would do for the academy just from a paper. The paper would come out in January. I remember my dad said, okay, this is the paper. These are the documents you need to provide. Yours. There were titles and topics, like, for example, of the previous Italian written test. And then there were also the mathematic, in bullets, mathematic topics. So you would go through them, and most of them were coming from what you've been studying during the last years of high school. So there was nothing to be prepared beyond that. So, but the problem is that you are preparing from the high school exam, so you cannot specifically prepare for the academy. So I had to do a little bit of mix and match because I knew what I needed to do for the academy, and I knew what I needed to do for the high school. I was helped by one mathematics teacher that we reviewed some stuff, and she said, "Okay, you know your stuff." Okay, but there was a surprise. There was a surprise which I didn't know, and it was when I got in Naples to do my medical screening. Before we were put in a huge room where we would do psychoattitudinal testing. So these tests were like, like drawings and graphics and shapes, and you need to put them in order. And I wasn't really prepared for those. I didn't know that you had to do it. So I remember that the time was really, we had just short time to do this. And I was going through very, very quickly, visualize and then do it, like A, B, C, this is all multiple choice. And so many people that were there, they failed that test. So we went there probably that day. We were like 200 or 300 people for the day to access the medical, and at the end of the day, we're just 40 because of the failing those tests. So I think I was a little bit lucky, okay, or my
Just overly smart.
overly smart, or I would say my general preparation from high school in general was I was able to pick up the gist of what I was doing and finally pass this test. It was a pretty good adventure, I remember.
So during your Air Force time, what was your favorite mission or training and why?
The first deployment that was called a squadron exchange that I did in 2001, we deployed to Norway. We deployed to Norway with 4 F-104s. It was the first time that I was going outside, basically Italy, with a single seat. In the past I'd gone with an instructor in the backseat. We went to Germany, but this was the first time that we were going to Norway. And so we deployed for aircraft in Bodo, in Norway, which is halfway between Oslo and the northern north. And that mission was awesome because we stayed there for 15 days. We flew together and against the F-16s that were based in that base. I was able to open the spectrum of missions that you can fly, and I think that also my airmanship increased. This airmanship. What is the airmanship? Airmanship is basically your situational awareness. Okay, how you perceive yourself in a certain context. So by going abroad and flying with foreigners and flying with other platforms help me out to open up my, let's say, my spectrum. And also, and that was a sign, I was very lucky because I had I had gifted a flight on the F-16 when I was there. So not only I was flying the F-104, but also flew the F-16 with the Norwegian pilots. And the scenery in Norway is pretty amazing, especially in summer. The sun is always high. You enter these fjords with snow and everything, and you see whales in the sea, and like spraying water, and it's crazy. It's a crazy environment.
Were there any other missions that you particularly enjoyed? This one was more the first one that really taught you, but was there one that really, I remember Iceland, I think, that, or somewhere where you brought me a piece of rock from a volcano.
Okay. Is it from Sicily?
Maybe. Pretty close, but for me it was really far away.
From Sicily? Yes. Well, the campaigns, pretty cool were the campaigns where we were shooting missiles. So we would deploy to Sicily. So on the F-16, we would deploy to Sicily and then go to Sardinia over this range to shoot an AMA01 missile towards a drone that was our target. So that was also a pretty cool mission. It was the first time that you were shooting something. You were not shooting at anybody. You were shooting at a target. So that was good with that. And but the excitement to use a weapon Okay, it's like probably when you go the first time to the range and you shoot with a gun, like you will feel a sense of fear, but also a sense of excitement to see this missile, coming off of your wing and going for the target. That was another pretty good, and there are some good pictures that I can share.
What is the worst and best advice that you have received in the military during your training time and also during your working time?
The best advice.
Something that you maybe carry out with
Yes.
yourself even till today.
The best advice. I also wrote an article on Substack on the newsletter Tools of Fighter Pilots. The best advice I received was as soon as I was assigned to my first squadron, 23rd Squadron. Dear friend Argo closed the door and he said, "Okay, you are the last guy here. Okay, maybe we are not doing everything right. So you have the right to speak up if you see that something is not going on correctly. If you have questions, just speak up." Okay. This concept is assertivity. If there are any problems and you feel like you need clarification, first of all, raise your hand and say, "Look, I don't understand this," and make sure that you receive an answer from the person you're talking. When you're taught these things, you approach anything you do in a critical way, in a let's say in a positive way, because if it doesn't work out, maybe if you stand your hand, you're gonna get clarification. If you're always silent, respectful, yes, but silent, and you never ask if one thing could be done in a different way or could be done better, then problem comes. I'll give you an example. Let's say we're flying two fighters and I'm the wingman. Okay. I'm the guy that is staying there. Like you today, I'm a wingman. Okay. So the leader is flying and ATC, their traffic control, is telling you, "Okay, fly heading 180, descend to 5,000 feet." And the leader start descending on heading 210 and he continue descent to passing 5,000 feet, continue descent. Now, probably didn't get the clearance correctly, okay, or probably is thinking something else, or whatever it is. You as a wingman, you need to stand your ground and raise your hand. And how you do it? Lead from two. Go ahead. Okay, confirm we are clear to 3,000 feet and not 5,000 feet, and heading is 180. If the leader is like the leader that taught me this concept before, then it's going to say, "Let me check with the ATC real quick. No, it was 5,000 feet. It was heading 180. Oops. Thank you very much, too." Okay. But if you don't say anything, what if there is a mountain at 3,000 feet? Okay. So it, when you learn this one and you bring it in whatever you do, okay, you, let's say, you get a superpower. Okay. Because you can analyze what you're doing and what you're saying, even when people are asking to you. Okay, let me check. Okay, yes, that's a valid point. Let me check real quick. And this comes to being humble in everything you do and trying to use humbleness as a superpower. The worst advice that I have received, this is a good one. In 1997, when I started flying in the States, one of my instructors, he was not very patient in talking to me in English. In English, my English was minimal. Okay, was basic. When I went to the States, I stayed there for like I think 8-9 weeks, practice English, get grammar lessons, and discussing with the teachers that were there, a little bit of radio calls that we were doing in the air, but my English wasn't that good. Okay. So I went to the initial phase of training that I was really struggling understanding my instructor, not even the radio calls from outside, but my instructor was like, "Dude, I cannot understand what you're saying." Okay. And at some point, just before the first exam, which by the way went very well, he told me, "Well, I guess maybe you can pass the course." And I was like, it looks like I'm going to prepare my luggage and come back home because, it didn't give me that confidence right away. Well, in the end, I ended up the course in America as third of my class. So really, it didn't affect me too much. But in the moment, that thing that was said that maybe you can do it, okay, that was one of those things that you shouldn't say to your your pilots, your students, your athletes, your teammates. Okay, it's something that you don't say. Okay, because it's a confidence disruptive
Yeah, it's self
motive.
doubt.
Yes. So don't let anybody mine your self confidence to a point that failure must be contemplated in the options that you have. Failure shouldn't be contemplated in the options that you have. Failure will come, and then you need to have your ejection seat and parachute to make sure that you stand up again. Like the Rocky Balboa. I know it's not the way that you get hit, but it's how you stand up again. So the thing I will never tell my students or my athletes is something that, okay, maybe you can make it. No, you will make it. You will make it with the tools that you have. You will make it with the training that you have done. You will make it with the team that you have available. Okay, because sometimes also in entrepreneurship, you don't have all the team players that you want, and you need to do with what you have. Okay, so you're chasing just success and achievements in a way that it cannot be disrupted by what somebody saying, maybe you can do it, and now you start overthinking, over analyzing in order to get to your target, to your objectives.
Perfect. Let's talk about your life now as an instructor. As I know from my own experience, you're very, very organized and your days are very well structured as a scheduling programmer. So, what does a typical day look like for you?
Okay.
And let's make it brief.
Yeah, it's not that complicated. Wake up early, uh, journal, drink a green tea, uh, read few lines of the book of the moment, and then after that, try to get sunlight if sunlight is available. If it is too early, then there is no sunlight, so be it. And then start with maybe social media, see what happened the last 2 hours where you went to sleep, and then your friends were awake because of different time zones. Um, review notes, um, review what is your schedule for the day. Then after that, go to work. Obviously, get the weather brief, see how's the weather, prepare for the flight, prepare for the next day schedule, and then plan the week, the next week, the year, and update everything. Okay, that's that's what it is. Okay, so not really there's enough time to faff around. Okay, everything is happening in a continuum of events. They escalate to a point that if you're not keeping the pace, you're gonna get overwhelmed, and sometimes it's like, okay, one moment, okay, I need a moment now. Okay, it happens sometimes. Like, guys, shut up. I need one moment to do this thing.
How did you manage to curate this morning routine that you have so perfectly created? With the journal, with the tea, with the waking up early.
It's not perfect. It's just something that resonates with me. It's something that I like to do because I feel better if I do it. If I'm sluggish, if wake up in the morning, I'm sluggish, I'm not active, and this is not part of me. Okay, so I need to be active in order to get the engine running. Okay, engine running all day, and then at least when I come back home or when I go to bed, I reflect for a moment on what I've done, and I see if I filled up my day of the things that I wanted to do or something could have done a little bit better. Okay. It's in the past at that point, so there is no remorse, no regrets. There is only the fact that the day after you need to try and do it in a different way. So having a structure helps, and this is valid not only. I can say that most fighter pilots, so they using this kind of concept of having a structure. Okay, it does work also for athletes. All the athletes that I'm coaching, they are training early in the morning. Okay, they have the routine. They wake up, they get coffee, and boom, they start training. Okay, but it works also for entrepreneurship. It works also for life. If you are organized, that you use the first hours of the morning to set up the pace. Okay, you set up the pace, and then from there, it's easier to get at the end of the day, okay, with a certain productivity. Okay, so this is definitely a tool that in the military aviation, in military life, we're using, and it's transferable to any type of endeavor.
I've already asked you a similar question on what exactly does a fighter pilot instructor do, but how do you train someone to fly a fighter jet?
Okay, so to fly a fighter jet, we start from one of my non-negotiables. Anything you do, you must be prepared. So, first thing is preparation, not only as a student pilot, but also as a instructor. So, preparing for the mission means that there is a syllabus which states what are the maneuvers that you need to do. There is a manual which is telling you how to do these maneuvers in general, and then there are standard operating procedures which set the standard for this maneuver. Okay, once we know these three documents, then we need to put into practice. So initially, I explain how to do the maneuver. I tell you why you do it, how you do it, and then how to make corrections for certain mistakes, and then you perform these maneuvers in the simulator. Okay. Once you perform these maneuvers in the simulator, then it's time to go for the real thing. It looks like we are adding variables, we are adding into the context a little bit more complicated items, or let's say we are creating a little bit of confusion, no? Because when you're reading and explaining things, it's pretty clear what you have to do. Then when you go into the simulator, now there is the practical part, which is done in a controlled environment, okay? And then you go outside where there is wind, where there is low visibility because of the dust, where there is the controller, where there is another airplane crossing your airspace, and so on and so on. Okay, so it's a building block. You don't become fighter pilot one day from the other. You don't become instructor one day from the other. It's a matter of it's like the Lego, okay? You build the foundation, okay, and then you build the second story, and then you go on and go on until you build the Burj Khalifa, and you reach the tip. And then still, from the top of the tip, you're still learning, you're still studying, because you need to be always prepared, okay? This is a non-negotiable. Everything you do, always be prepared.
Being both a fighter pilot and an Ironman, what's one training habit or mindset you wish people adopted more often?
This is something I use. Okay. Visualization and chair flying is let's say, the training and let's say the technique that helps me in both. It helps me in flying. We did a great episode with Jason about task rehearsal, which is effectively visualizing the maneuver when you're flying. We're visualizing the type of mission, the flow, the timeline. And I do the same for Ironman. And this is what I coach my athletes to do. I tell them, go to the transition area early in the morning, see where your bicycle is, see where you're going to get out of the water, see how you're going to wear your shoes, how you're going to wear the socks, the glasses, and so on. Okay. So visualization works in the world of sport, it works in my world, and it works also in the world of business as well. If you're using task rehearsal in a team, this is a force multiplier.
What's a multiplier?
Multiplier means that you would obtain one result, but if you multiply, your result is much bigger. Okay.
Okay. If you had 5 minutes with your younger self, what career advice would you give him?
The things that I've learned in 20 years of Air Force would help me to approach the initial exams a little bit more confident. Okay, there was fear. That there was really not even fear. It was just unknown. Okay, so I wasn't impressed, and I wasn't really feeling any fear of the unknown. But if it would have been somebody that tell me, okay, this is how it's gonna look like, then really it would have helped. Okay. In the past, I've helped some people, some pilots to join the Air Force and have a bit of picture of what it would have been their screening, their exams, and everything. And this was really helpful for them. So yes, if I was starting the career now, I would say, okay, look, You need to go there. You need to do this. These are the exams you need to do. Okay, you need to prepare with this book, this, and don't worry about it. It's gonna be okay.
So every month, I always see you with a new book in your hands. What are some that have really changed you?
There are a few books that really have given me lately a little bit perspective on the, let's say, the coaching side, or the way that I can put into practice the things that I've learned in 30 years of career. One really interesting is The Infinite Game of Simon Sinek, which basically tells you that life, business, and sport are not something where success uh, is defined by achievements, but success is defined by running your journey. Okay, so living your journey. So, as a fighter pilot, you live your journey. As a business entrepreneur, you live your journey. As an athlete, it's a continuous journey, right? Because especially in endurance, the day before you were in a certain place, and the day after you are in a better place. It's telling you about a journey which is infinite. Okay, there are no rules, specific rules. It's not like let's say a card game that has certain options and then finally it finishes. It's not Monopoly that is gonna finish at some point. It's an infinite game. So that book is really great. Another book that I really liked is the 365 Days Daily Stoics, where you have phrases from the Stoics, and some of them are really in my mind because I put them in practice a lot. And one that stays in my mind all the times is like, every time you wake up, do the work. So every time you wake up, do something. Either it's your work, is it your sport, is it is your hobby, painting, writing, whatever it is, do your work.
I want to ask you some Top Gun style questions now.
Okay.
As I've asked you these, my friends have asked you these. Have you ever broken the sound barrier? What does it
Yes.
feel like?
Yes, yes. If you sneeze, you cannot hear you sneezing. That's not true. Okay, you don't feel anything. You are in the cockpit. You don't feel any noise, but you see the instrument going crazy for a while, and then you look at your ground speed. The speed on the ground, it's very fast.
How fast have you flown?
Mach 2 on the F104.
We recently converted the Mach into kilometers per hour, and I was shocked. Have you ever pulled G's so hard you blacked out or came close to that?
That's part of the preparation. Okay, if I don't feel like I'm not good at the day, I'm not gonna push myself to that point. So I explore my limits. But during the centrifuge, the first time that I did the centrifuge, this is the first time and only time that I have blacked out. And then that was part of the training.
What's the scariest moment you've ever had in a jet?
Scariest moment, you are in Germany, you are at low level, you have a certain amount of fuel to come back to Italy, you are looking for a high altitude level, you're looking for a vector to the south, and they tell you to stay low and to vector to the north. This is that's a scary moment. It's quite scary because now you start thinking about probably landing in Germany, and then the day after talk to the boss because you didn't plan appropriately. But the reality was that there was contingency in airspace management there. So there, your brain start like galloping in order to find a solution and to bring the aircraft back.
Were you given a nickname when training to be a pilot? And has it stuck to you?
I don't know. When I was in pilot training, they called me Tomato because the Americans couldn't pronounce Tommaso. Then, when I joined the 20th Squadron, I was Futre. Okay, they called me Futre for a while, and then I became Cartax, and Cartax stood. People call me Cartax. Now I go by TC just because I'm senior and older.
Let me ask you some general questions and what people might not know. What do people not understand about being a fighter pilot?
I think that people do not understand the pressure that fighter pilots have to face, have to manage during their missions, during their training, during their day. It's not only, okay, I go fly and enjoy. It's a matter of going to fly, switch the family and the preoccupation switch on standby, and turn on the fighter pilot one. You cannot bring the stuff in the air. Okay, otherwise you're gonna be in trouble. So this is something that probably people don't understand. It's really a skill that we are trained to in order to preserve the weapon systems, but to preserve also your let's say, you as a skill, you as an asset for the Air Force you're working for.
Have you ever made a mistake in the air, and how did you deal with it?
It was not long ago that during a combat mission, I went through the wake turbulence, and it was a silly maneuver because it was just a little bit too aggressive. I went through the wake turbulence, so the aircraft said, "Nope, the night you're not gonna fly this aircraft anymore." The aircraft didn't go uncontrolled. Obviously, it was just a matter of sensor. They went out of phase. And I was thinking like that was silly from my side. Okay, I shouldn't have done it because I've done it so many times that I shouldn't have done it. But then, I said, okay, what can we do with this aircraft today? Can we do something else for training the other pilot that was on the other airplane? So, I figured out a way to not waste completely the mission. And so every time you make a mistake, let's try to see what can you save, what can you do to recover. Okay, so I never had like crazy emergencies that or crazy mistakes in the edge of the plane, but the metaphor of having an injection seat and thinking about also the coming back with the parachute, it's a nice metaphor to think about. Okay, I need to have an escape plan, but I need to have also another backup plan, a re-entry plan.
What kind of person do you think shouldn't be a pilot, or is there a type of person that is more suitable?
I think that if you think about the mindset of fighter pilots, but you think about the characteristic of a pilot, mindset is based and is rooted on discipline. So if you don't recognize discipline as a tool to achieve your results, as a tool to train yourself, to improve yourself into your journey, then definitely you cannot be a fighter pilot.
So you've said that someone that maybe should not be a pilot is someone without the discipline, but is there a person that you think is more suitable, that maybe some characteristics?
I think one of the characteristics that you would define a person suitable to become a fighter pilot is curiosity. Curiosity is is very important. It's very important because it makes you approach to preparation in a positive way, makes you approach preparation and knowing your weapon system, the machine that you're flying, knowing the mission profile that you're flying, knowing that the environment, the aviation environment, the aviation mission profiles are vast and different. So if you are a curious person, you are going to improve, you're going to improve yourself, you're going to expand your knowledge, you're going to expand your situational awareness much quicker and much in a more, let's say, productive way compared to others. So curiosity for me is one of the characteristics that a person should have to become a fighter pilot.
Fighter pilots are trained to react instantly, correct?
Yes.
How do you balance instinct and intellect in high-stakes situations?
You go through certain routines, through certain task rehearsal, where at a certain point, if something happens, your actions are immediate. You go through certain routines to a specific training where certain actions happen in a almost immediate way. So, for example, we study ball phases. Ball phases are procedures that you see the caption on the aircraft, okay? You know what to do and you immediately do that thing. Okay, you don't have to think about it. You just do it because you have been practicing, you have been studying, practicing this ball phase. Okay, it's an immediate action. Then you have an approach for things that are not catastrophic, for things that are not time concerning emergencies. And the approach is always the same. Maintain aircraft control, maintain the wings level, analyze the situation. So you analyze the captions that you have, and then take proper action. You go through the manual, you go through the checklist, and through the captions that you see, you go through the procedure. Okay, so if you have this structured approach, then you are able to deal with the unknown. Now, obviously, this is for emergencies. So I talked about emergency procedures. During combat, you think about that everything is about instinct, is about talent. The reality is about repeating the maneuvers. It's about rehearsing the task. It's about trying on the ground with the eyes closed, and then in the simulator, and then finally in the air. Okay, so that certain mechanism become like instinct, but it's not like, okay, today I'm a magician and I'm gonna pull this magic trick from now. I'm doing it. No, it doesn't work like this. You get there with the experience. You get there with the exposure. It's not gonna be easy. It's not going to be quick. You're not gonna see the results of your hard work right away. Uh, Most of the time, your hard work is not gonna be recognized by your superiors. But live the journey. It's an amazing journey. Once a fighter pilot, you're always a fighter pilot, so you are gonna approach life in a different way, whatever you do, either in sports. If you're leaving your Air Force career and you enter entrepreneurship, you're gonna have some skills that will make your life completely different. So, as I said, curious person, a disciplined person are the ones that you want to are those characteristics that you want to let's say enhance when you're approaching this type of career, but not quick.
Last but not final question. Can the tools of the fighter pilot, this podcast, ever be fully understood and used by someone that isn't a pilot, someone like me? Many of the lessons are learned exclusively in the high stake, in a high altitude environment.
I truly believe that certain skills are transferable, and that's why Tools of Fighter Pilots was born. It was born to highlight things that fighter pilots do, and they're applicable also for any endeavor. So, I'm an Ironman coach. I coach triathletes. Sometimes they are training for a sprint triathlon, very short race. Sometimes they're training for a full distance. Sometimes they're training for challenges. And I use what I've learned. I use that one of my non-negotiables is to be on time. So I use to be on time. I use time as a framework to coach my athletes. I use discipline as a framework to coach my athletes. And I cannot do anything if I'm not prepared. Everything I do, I'm prepared. Okay, even if it's I need to change a bulb in the house. Okay, I'm gonna prepare for that.
You're gonna watch the YouTube video.
Yes, I'm gonna do it yourself. Yes, okay. Let me see how I do it before I break something. Okay. I'm one of the few people that read the instruction manual.
So you think that even what you've learned in your time as being in the military, that you were able to apply it in your daily life? And
I think that you can benefit from these techniques. You can benefit now. Obviously, not 100%. If I'm coaching somebody outside the sport or outside the military work, I'm pretty sure that they're not going to use 100% of the things that I've learned. But there are a few things that we just discussed that are usable also for CEOs, for team members, from team leaders. Okay, when you're talking about assertivity, for example, I give an example. We talked before about communication and assertivity. Okay, because it's so important in a fighter pilot environment in aviation to communicate properly, because it's a life-threatening situation, right? So if you don't communicate properly, if you don't say, okay, look, there is a mountain there and you need to brake to the left and you need to maneuver this way, okay? Or if you have an enemy in your 6 o'clock and now you're telling your leader, okay, number one, brake right, okay? These things, when used in a more peaceful environment, they give you a different pace. Okay, they give you that kind of boost that maybe sometimes you need because your company, your organization is moving slow and you don't understand why. Okay, let's boost it. Okay, let's use communication. Let's use being a little differently prepared. Okay, so these are all things that you can transfer to any business, to life, to sport. to study. You know, as a student, you can use stress management and you can use task rehearsal. You know better than me that if you task rehearse, if you review your lecture, if you review the material that you study for your exam, then it's going to be much better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This is Tools of Fighter Pilots. I am TC, and this is Allegra.